Hello everybody and welcome back to another Marvel Crisis Protocol character creation video. And for this week's episode, we are designing Squirtle. I'm very excited about this one. And yeah, let's go ahead and start with our usual thing of jumping over to the Bulbapedia page and taking a look at what Squirtle is all about. So as with the last one, we don't actually get that much information about what Squirtle kind of does. We just know they are one of the first three partner Pokemon of Kanto, available in some of the original games as well as their remakes, and evolves into a Wartortle and Blastoise, which isn't going to be relevant for this. For the record, I have thought about doing evolution as like a tactics card mechanic or something, but it would probably be too strong to really properly capture it, so for now I'm not bothering. Maybe we'll think of something later. But he has a couple abilities here, those being Torrent and Rain Dish. I'll go ahead and open those in new tabs. We'll check them out in a second. And of course, the other thing we're going to be mainly looking at here is going to be the moves. So here we have the list of moves that he learns. Now we're mostly going to be looking at moves that he can learn before he levels up. So the main ones that I'm going to be looking at here are going to be Water Gun, probably just going to be one of his attacks here. Withdraw could be like a cool defensive ability. Reed, actually, who you guys may know from some of the battle reports on the channel, gave me a really cool idea for rapid spins. We're going to be trying to incorporate that as best as we can. And then I'm thinking probably Water Pulse is going to make most sense for the spender here. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and open all of those in new tabs, and we'll take a look at those kind of one at a time here. So the first one is going to be the Torrent ability, and this is really similar to the ability that we have for Bulbasaur. Actually, all three of the starters I think are going to have basically this ability exactly. And it says, when a Pokemon with Torrent uses a Water-type move, the move's power will be increased by 50% if the user has less than or equal to a third of its max HP. So we're probably just going to copy that from Bulbasaur word for word, but fair enough. It seems to be a pretty kind of common thing for them here. The next one is a little bit more interesting, and that is the Rain Dish ability here. So the Rain Dish ability says, during rain, a Pokemon with Rain Dish will regain 1/16 of its max HP at the end of each turn. So I'm thinking maybe we do something kind of similar to what we did with Bulbasaur, where we kind of incorporate Sunny Day and Chlorophyll together. Here we do like Rain Dance and Rain Dish together. So not 100% sure on that one, but I think that's kind of the direction I'm leaning towards going with that. But yeah, then we go ahead and we get into some of the attacks here. So Water Gun is really simple. There's not too much to talk about for this one, but when we jump over to Withdraw, things are a little bit more interesting. So Withdraw here is a defensive move that increases your defense stat by 1 stage in the game, and yeah, the kind of description for it is the user draws itself into its shell to raise its defense stat, and I'm thinking this could just honestly be like a Vibranium Shield sort of effect. That's kind of where I'm leaning towards for it. Permanent stat raises are a little crazy in this game, so permanently increasing your defensive stat, probably not what we want to do, but just kind of a temporary Vibranium Shield, add 2 dice against physical and energy attacks. Doesn't really make sense to work against mystic attacks. Sounds like probably the best way to go for me here, but yeah, we'll get to there when we get to there. So the next attack we're going to be basing something off of is Rapid Spin, and this one I think Reed gave me a really cool idea for. So Rapid Spin is basically a damage dealing move that removes things like Leech Seed and stuff like that from you. We're not going to be worrying too much about some of those sorts of things because that's really hard to represent in this game, but basically the idea is, especially with a Pokemon like Squirtle, the user is kind of going into their shell and just spinning around really fast and then like charging themselves at you. And I think this one could be really cool for kind of like almost a pseudo Juggernaut or Rhino style attack, where Reed kind of had the idea of basically you like push yourself small. If you contact a model, you deal damage to them, but then you could also like bounce off of terrain or something like that. And I thought it was really cool. So yeah, we're gonna get into wording that out in a minute, but I got some neat ideas for this one. And the last one here is Water Pulse, which is a damage dealing move that has a chance to confuse the target. And this one could be interesting. I'm not 100% sure how I want to do this yet. I've got some kind of neat ideas. So yeah, we're going to look at this one in a minute. It can also hit non-adjacent opponents, so I'm kind of thinking of giving it like explosive or something like that. But we'll get there when we get there. So back to the card, we're going to start actually creating the character here. And first things first, we got to fill in this stat block here. And I think I'm just going to make him 3/3/3 because we already talked about that potential for a Vibranium Shield style ability here. So I don't think we need to go too crazy with any of the defensive stats here. As for stamina, I think I'm going to do the same as Bulbasaur. I think Bulbasaur is technically bulkier in the games. I could be wrong about that. They might just be bulkier in different ways. But I think for the purposes of this, we're going to give them both 6/5 defensive stat lines. And then probably for Charizard, I'll do him a little bit more, or Charmander, I'll do him a little bit more glass cannonate with like a 5/5 sort of deal. As for size, he's also going to be a size 1, definitely on the smaller side. But for movement speed, we're going to give him a medium there, so nothing too crazy. And yeah, I think we'll kind of go with that. So really straightforward stat line here, but I think it's going to get more interesting as we get into the attacks. So as we did discuss, there's going to be at least 2 attacks for Squirtle here, the Water Gun attack and then Water Pulse. Now, I could see an argument for either physical or energy for these, because, you know, it's physical would make sense for like a wall of water slamming into you, but also most of them are kind of special attacks, and I kind of lean towards special attacks being more like energy and mystic attacks. So yeah, this is where it doesn't translate super well. I think I'm going to lean towards keeping them physical. I'm even kind of tempted to be like Water Gun is physical, but Water Pulse is energy, which again, I know doesn't translate at all from Pokemon, but just kind of makes some sense to me. For now, I think I'll leave them both physical, but yeah, that's definitely a kind of decision point there. As for Water Gun and what that does, I think we're going to make that a range, let's go 4. I think range 4 is reasonable for that, and I'm actually thinking Water Pulse will probably be shorter range, like a range 3 or something like that. Or maybe I do the opposite. Maybe I do 3 for Gun and 4 for Pulse. Yeah, let's do it that way. So it's going to be a range 3, and let's go maybe just 5 dice. I think it seems fine to me. It's going to be a builder, I think. I don't think I want to do anything more complicated than that, but I definitely want to give it a second rule here because that's not crazy impressive as it currently stands. So I'm either going to give it a second rule or another range here, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to think about this one for a second. All right, so I thought about it slightly more, and I think I'm going to give it a wild push here. And yeah, I think that just kind of makes sense. I'm going to probably do, let's say, maybe size 3 push small, and this will be away. So yeah, the idea is kind of you can just kind of use this to keep distance, build some power, and screw it. I'm going to bump it up to a 4 range, probably 4 for both of the weapons here. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and rule this out and things like that, and we'll jump right back in. Alrighty, so there we have statted out the Water Gun. So it's a range 4 5 dice builder that has a wild push before damage to push them away small. And yeah, I like this. I think it gives a little bit of a difference from the one that we gave Bulbasaur, which also had a push, but it was an omnidirectional push and it was a little bit shorter range. So yeah, I think it still feels different enough because I am a little worried about a lot of these Pokemon feeling very similar to each other. I think that's kind of inevitable depending how many of them we do, but at least this early on, I want them to be somewhat different. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the Water Gun so far. So now we're on to Water Pulse. So for the Water Pulse attack here, there's a couple things that I want to do. First of all, I think we're going to make this range 4 as well. And I'm not 100% sure where I'm landing on the dice, but I'm leaning towards maybe something like 7 and then making it cost maybe 3 or 4. I'll put it at 3 for now, and we'll see if maybe we want to up to a 4, because I want to give this at least 2 special rules. So the 2 things I kind of want to represent here are, 1, the chance that it has to give the confused condition. Now, confuse is probably best represented by something like stagger, but I'm going to jump away from that a little bit because I think I don't really want this to give stagger. I think it feels a little weird and still not right for confuse. I would rather this be something that kind of just lowers the effectiveness of the thing rather than just saying one of their actions are gone, because I don't know, that doesn't quite feel like the thematics of what confuse does in the Pokemon games. So it's going to be wild something for confuse. And then the other thing I want it to do is some sort of explosive thing. So obviously there's going to be, like a range 2 of the target, but I don't think I want it to be explosive damage, or maybe I want it to be explosive damage and something else. And what I'm kind of leaning towards there is like, maybe this is also a trigger, maybe this is like a crit or something like that. And you do explosive plus like bleed maybe, and then the regular, the regular attack, the confuse, could be represented by like, I'm thinking bleed and stun. So the bleed to represent kind of the damage portion of the confusion, and the stun to kind of represent the, confusion. Um, I think to me that's the best way to work this out. Not 100% sure how I feel about it. I think making the explosive what's it called? A stun and a bleed is probably a little too far, so I don't want to go quite that far with it. So I'm thinking the wild will bleed and stun the target, and then the critical will bleed and deal a damage to anyone within 2 of the target. Is kind of what I'm leaning for this one. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and word that out, and then we'll revisit the numbers and see if everything feels all right. Alrighty, so there we have the water pulse, and I think I'm going to leave the numbers where they are. The 3 and 7 seem fine to me. So this is going to have a wild confusion. After the attack is resolved, the target character will bleed and stun, and then a critical pulse. Before damage is dealt, characters within 2 of the target suffer 1 damage, and characters that suffer damage gain the bleed condition. And I really like the way this ended up kind of wording out here. I made the bleed condition contingent on suffering the damage, so if they have ways of reducing damage to 0, they just won't take the bleed condition as well, and I think that's probably more interesting and maybe a little bit more balanced for everything this is doing for only a 3-cost spender. So yeah, because I think there's definitely a very real argument to bump this up to 4 and 8, but I do like it where it is, so I think I'm going to leave it as it is for now. I'm pretty happy with this. And yeah, I think that's going to do it for the attack profiles here. So we're going to go ahead and get into superpowers, where we're going to have at least 3. The first one is going to be that rapid spin that we mentioned earlier. The second one here, we're going to do rain dish in some way. That's going to have some form of healing. I'm also considering just giving him healing factor, but I'm not 100% sure about that one. And then what was the last one we wanted? Oh, of course, Torrent. We needed to give him a Torrent as well. So Torrent is just going to be copy pasted from Bulbasaur, basically. So if you guys missed that video, basically it was if he had 4 or more damage on him, he got like 2 rerolls or something like that, I think was what I gave him. So I'll go ahead and do that one first, and we'll jump back in. Yeah, so there we have the Torrent ability added, again, pretty much directly from Bulbasaur's, I want to say it was Overgrow ability. So while this character has 4 or more damage, it can reroll 2 dice during its attack rolls. So again, yeah, that's going to make both of these attacks hit a lot harder while he's low on health, but of course he has to be low on health for that to be a thing. So yeah, I like that a lot there. Oh, and then of course I almost forgot to give him Withdraw, because we wanted to give him that as well. So that's going to be a reactive superpower here, and we already kind of know what this is going to be. So actually I might as well just word this out right here. Alrighty, so there we have Withdraw. So yeah, it's just Vibranium Shield as is. When they're targeted by a physical or energy attack, they can use the superpower, add 2 dice to this character's defense roll against that attack. So now we get into Rain Dish and Rapid Spin. I think Rain Dish is going to be the one that I'm kind of most confused on what I want to do with, so I think we're going to do Rapid Spin first to give me some time to think about that one. And for Rapid Spin, basically the idea is going to be he's going to push himself small. If he contacts a enemy character, he will deal 1 damage to them, and then if he contacts an enemy character or a terrain feature, he's going to get to push himself small off of that enemy character or terrain feature, away from that enemy character or terrain feature. And then if he contacts a different enemy character, he can do 1 damage. Otherwise, he will just actually stop. So that's going to be really wordy. I'm going to go ahead and try to start wording that out here. But yeah, I think that seems solid to me. He can do up to 2 damage with Rapid Spin. So I think for that reason, I make it a little bit on the expensive side. I think I'm going to make it cost 3. So it'll be mobility combined with damage. And I think that's going to be a fair amount to make it cost. I mean, you're giving up a spender for it at that point, but it's not going to be an action. And we are going to make it once per turn. So that's going to be something to... Oh, it could be so much fun if it's not once per turn, though. And at 3 power, he doesn't have great power generation, so I think it's probably fine. Yeah, I think it's way more fun to keep this not once per turn. So we're gonna have it not be once per turn. That might be risky, being as potentially powerful as it could be, but yeah, I'll try and make that work. I will be including kind of the Juggernaut thing of like you can't hit a character you've already hit, and that'll be like for the entire turn. So you won't be able to use the ability, say, 3 times on the same character for 3 auto damage. Um, I think that'll be fine. We're gonna see how that goes. I'm really excited about this one. Okay, so I think I have this mostly where I want it, and I think it's a little bit more balanced than I originally had planned it to be because of some limitations I actually had while trying to word this out in the templating that MCP uses specifically for Juggernaut. So yeah, this character is pushed small. If it contacts an enemy character, the enemy character suffers 1 damage. Then this character is pushed small away from the contacted enemy character. If it contacts another enemy character, that enemy character suffers 1 damage. A character can only be damaged by the superpower once per turn. So the superpower itself isn't once per turn. You could, in theory, ping pong through their entire team, but you can only damage each character once. So I think that's for the most part fine. Um, yeah, I think this works pretty well for what I'm kind of going for here. Um, I, for the most part, like this a lot. And the other thing I'm going to do here is kind of thinking about what Rapid Spin does. I don't want to put it in this like the way Juggernaut loses Stagger for this, but I think I'm just going to give Squirtle an immunity to slow. If we just kind of go here and say immunity, and then it's slow, I think is the templating for that. Yeah, that'll kind of represent how, Rapid Spin is something that he can do to increase his speed, and yeah, I just think that kind of works. So yeah, I like that a fair bit. I think that's a really, really cool kind of fun sort of Pokemon anime moment of just being able to kind of have Squirtle curl up into a shell and just go ping pong, and or not ping pong. I'm thinking pinball. But yeah, I think that's a neat one. And then the last thing we got to figure out is Rain Dish here, which I'm not 100% sure what I want to do for. Honestly, it might just be like a 1 cost heal 1, maybe something like that, or maybe 1 cost heal 2. Maybe I do that, maybe, or I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. You see, that just feels a little boring to me, so I'm not sure what I want to do with this yet. Okay, I think I had a slightly better idea for what I want to do with Rain Dish. So it's going to be an active superpower. I think I'm going to make it cost 2 power. And I want it to do 2 things. The first thing I want it to do is it'll heal 2. And then the other thing I want it to do is the next attack will have probably just 1 reroll to kind of represent that, being in rain makes your water type moves more effective, and all the water type move or all the attacks we gave him are water type moves. So I think that kind of works for that. So yeah, I'm thinking heal 2, water type moves more effective, or maybe I make it heal 3, and I'll give it even like 2 rerolls on the attack. And actually, this is great because this means you can't stack it with Torrent. Um, so you'll heal 3. I'll give you 2 rerolls on the attack, but I'll make it an action. So it's going to slow you down a lot, but it's healing half of your health and making your next attack more powerful. I think that's more interesting to me. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and do that. Alrighty, so not quite as light healing as Rain Dish is in the games, but we have Rain Dance. It is going to be at 2 cost. It's going to cost you an action. You're going to remove 3 damage, and the next attack made by this character adds 2 dice to the attack roll. Now, I was originally going to do 2 rerolls, but it's kind of like, oh, well, we've already got rerolling dice on Torrent, so let's make it add 2 dice instead. And yeah, this means he can potentially hit like a truck. You can use this on Water Gun to kind of increase your power generation as well. So I definitely like it for that, but it is taking one of your actions, so it's going to slow you down a little bit in that regard as well. So yeah, I like this a lot actually. This kind of solves a lot of the issues I was having with this character and makes him, in my opinion, much more interesting than he was before. So really, really exciting about that. And yeah, I think it's time we flip this over to the flip side here. And the only thing I want to do here is I want to bump his health down 1, because that was kind of what we did with Bulbasaur, and I think it works for Squirtle as well, to be a 6-5. I'm actually kind of tempted to do 5-6 just so he's a little bit different. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna make him 5'6", and let's just go ahead and do that here. Yeah, I think that that works for me. I kind of want him to be one of those characters where like he wakes up and he just starts going ham with the rapid spin. So yeah, I really like that. I also did make Rain Dance not once per turn. Maybe it should be. You obviously won't benefit from the adding dice if you're using it twice because you won't be able to make an attack that turn, but the removing 3 damage twice does mean you could fully heal with this attack, but honestly, on a character with this low health pool anyways, I think if you're using this, you're fully healing most of the time anyways, so it's probably fine, and you're bringing yourself out of torrent range, so yeah, no, I actually think this is totally fine to have as a as something you can use more than once per turn if you really, really want to. So, yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that because that's also going to cost 4 power, and you know what? At that point, he spent 4 power and his entire turn. He deserves to be at full health. So, yeah, that's kind of fine with me. Yeah, I'm actually really happy with how Squirtle's come out here. This is definitely a character that I was kind of like, oh, I have cool ideas for this, but I don't know how these are going to play out. But I really, really like Rapid Spin. I think that could be a ton of fun to play with. Um, Water Pulse, in my opinion, is um, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I like what it's doing, but I'm not 100% sure if I've quite nailed the theme on it. I think I've gotten as close as I can think to get. I thought about some other conditions that that could be other than bleed and stun. I thought about like maybe like hex or something like that. Could be kind of interesting, but no, I think this is as close as I'm going to get and be happy with it because I think stagger would be a little bit too far. I think it would definitely have to go up to being a 4 cost at that point, and I didn't really want that because he doesn't have amazing power generation and he's got so much to spend it on. Uh, Water gun is great. I think that's exactly what I wanted it to be. Pushed away small is, oh shoot, I didn't put a size on that. I'm gonna put a size on that real quick. There we go. If it's size 3 or less, it may be pushed away small. I know I said that when I was talking about it, but I guess I forgot to actually put it on the card here. But yeah, I think Water Gun is totally fine. I like the way Rain Dance turned out. I think that became a much more interesting ability once I sat down and thought about the rain increasing the power of the next attack. I know someone mentioned something similar for Sunny Day with Bulbasaur, but the problem is Sunny Day doesn't actually increase grass type attacks unless I'm missing something. I'm pretty sure it increases fire type attacks, so it doesn't really make sense to make Bulbasaur's attacks better. If we end up giving it to Charmander, which realistically we probably will be because I think his second ability is based on sunny weather. I could be wrong. I'd have to double check that. But there's a good chance he ends up having sunny day, and I kind of do a something a little bit more similar to what I did with Squirtle here for that. So we'll see for him. But then, yeah, we have Withdraw, which I think just kind of makes sense for him. It's going to be a little bit expensive for him to be using this frequently. And then Torrent for some rerolls when he's low on health. And yeah, I think, man, the Pokemon abilities translate in such fun and interesting ways to this series. I'm really, really enjoying making these characters. I honestly am kind of tempted to just kind of not necessarily make this the whole series, but make this more of a thing and then also do other franchises and things like that. But we'll see because the Bulbasaur one is also doing really, really well. You guys have been killing it on that. So yeah, super appreciative of all the support on that one. Really, really love to see that you guys are enjoying the theme this month. So definitely gonna stick to having you guys vote for it because obviously, you know, that tends to be things you guys want to watch. So glad I can create that for you. But that is going to do it for Squirtle here. Let me know your thoughts down below. Are there things you wish we would have included here? Things that I included, but maybe you weren't a fan of how? Always curious to hear what you guys think. Obviously, as this series goes on, I'm going to hopefully be better and better at balancing these things, making them fair. So definitely let me know if you guys think he's too strong or too weak or something like that. I definitely think he's pushing it as a 3 threat. He's definitely on the higher end here. I think his biggest limiter is going to be his power generation, really only being that 5 dice builder. But yeah, he has a lot that he can do on his turns. So I am really, really excited about this character. This is definitely a character I would have a lot of fun playing. But let me know what you guys think down below. That is going to do it for me, though. So until next time, have a great day, everybody. Peace.